High frequency. Yeah. Sync up. Already. Yay. I get up with the frequency each and every morning. Thanks, practice gratitude, commence brainstorming. Live, awake, excited, new day, new me. TSA, courtesy of JRE and Scott Free. Too many folks shallow, scared to drown in the deep end. And I ain't pointing fingers, best believe I was one of them. The pain I was numbing it, self-inflicted punishment. The streets I was running in led me to consciousness. Yes, they can steal my flows, but can't block my shine, baby. You see my glow? Now I live in the light, radiating love. Sun, you're a star, as below, so above. Am I too metaphysical? Are you over analytical? So many situations get critical. I'm a warrior, survivor is an understatement. Started subterranean, now we in the cosmos on some Milky Wavy shit. Sun-kissed, melanin rich, health is wealth, we live abundant. Connected with the oneness, I'm off my dumb shit. I bring to you substance more specific, life is synchronistic. All is energy, fact, over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine, catch contact. Physicality beyond that, high frequency, we on that. Mind over matter, thoughts not scattered. Both stars co-creating, spiral up, no latitude, heaven or hell. Then you leave a trail, the high and low polarities, the vibrations, they all real.
From day to day just hoping, going through the motions, staring at the doors, who could ever get this open? Till I uncovered the secret to keeping it real. I got in touch with my soul, expand my frequency field. We play and follow the leader ain't going nowhere. That's why I'm living my life with a sovereign mind. All I want in this world is to spread love and greatness to you, using my music for we out of time. So for the divine, I'm doing my due diligence, giving some peace to views that's too militant. Doing it different, I got purpose and position. Feel the vibration, transmission is the mission. Need you to listen to these words, my dude. I swear my third eye got a bird's eye view. And do you wanna sync up? Cause I do. Surfing this wave, follow as we ride through.
All is energy, fact, over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine, catch contact. Physicality beyond that, high frequency, we on that. Mind over matter, thoughts not scattered. Co-stars co-creating, spiral up, no latitude, heaven or hell. It's in you, leave a trail. The high and low polarities, the vibrations, they all real.
Let it marinate, cause this is very great. To every state, the burden on my back, well, I carry weight. High frequency, high power, free spirit. Talking to the man upstairs, and yeah, he hear it. Man, I'm riding the wave, inspired by the days when we sparked up, that was the light of the haze. But now I'm synced up, yeah, my drink's up. Am I drinking again? Well, you know, yeah, the gig's up. Freedom ain't free, believe them, they not me. The oppressor knows my melanin rich, and I'm scot-free. That means I got away. BS, not today. Stop and say we good, okay? No more drops today. This the high frequency, they gon' feel this. Still with optimism, but still I'm the realist. They gon' feel this, yeah, real quick. Bring the chorus in. That's real shit.
All is energy, fact, over fiction when I rap. That high frequency, yeah, we on that. Sync with the most divine, catch contact. Physicality beyond that, high frequency, we on that. Mind over matter, thoughts not scattered. Co-stars co-creating, spiral up, no latitude, heaven or hell. It's in you, leave a trail. The high and low polarities, the vibrations, they all real. Peace to the gods, brother Yusuf found. High frequency radio, yeah, we on that. Peace, brother Paul Savage, you already know. You are locked in, tuned in live. High frequency radio. Sync up.
on High Frequency Radio. And the call-in number is 424-222-5250. This is Taj Tarik Bey, your host for Moabite Oasis. I'm honored to be here with you today on High Frequency Radio, a humanitarian and informative communications venue. I'll be hosting this show for your honor, your respect and considerations from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. And this day or degree is Thursday, known in Moorish Latin as Jueves, being the 5th day of the week and ruled by the planet Jupiter. The holy name for this degree, or Eloah, is Sakael. And as the schedule may allow, I trust to be with you on Thursdays to come. Recognizing the unity of life, we thank and honor you for sharing your time with us, and trust that our sharing and communications will manifest as nurturing, remedial dispensations, bringing forth some greater good and functionality. And as we appeal to the higher principles within ourselves to help as an ancillary in this great universal humanitarian movement, we trust that you will do the same, promoting and supporting the works necessary in helping to uplift fallen humanity. And with that being said, we encourage you to bring the best that your heart has to offer and sit down at the round table and with good intent get some work done. And we greet you in peace. Again, call-in number is 424-222-5250. High Frequency Radio, y'all. I would like to share a little bit with the audience today from a book I wrote years ago to give some concept of the aristocracy or the counter move against the indigenous people by the European occupiers in the Western Hemisphere. And that book is called A Woman Called Rebecca. Now, from the glyphic, oral, and chronological dispensations noted of the ancient ones, the archaic aboriginal inhabitants and dwellers of the North Gate, and you must know that the North Gate is the cosmological attribution or name given to North America as it resides under the northern hemisphere of the universe. And it is referred to as the North Gate. The Europeans who have conquered North America under European colonial operations, under Inquisition operations against the Moors and Yahudi, which would be converted as Moors and Jews, which both are the Aboriginal people, in their highest degrees of masonry, they refer to themselves as the keepers of the North Gate in reference to the occupation of the Temple of the Moon and Sun, which is also a designation given to the North Gate territories of the ancient Moabite Moors, etc. And what you will discover is when you go into an in-depth study of Moorish history, what you're actually going into is not some restricted or confined time or limitation of Asiatic African history, but you're actually going into world history and the history of the human family, period. And so when the reference is made to Moorish history and Moorish science, understand it is not conjoined or constricted to some small area, but it actually covers the planet and covers all humanity. So we derive influences from the multi-level insights into the customs, the colonial subverting acts, and of the social political motives and disruptive inclinations culminating in the crippling fall of the Moabite Moorish Empire of the Northwest Territories, involving a view from aspects heretofore given limited acknowledgments. Now, for some, coming into contemporary dispensational history by the Europeans, we will give it the flavor of its true nature and character from the Aboriginal. And keep in mind, Native American is a term created by European sociologists. And while we understand it's a political designation, we know that it itself is not valid, but it is only used in perspective as an indicator to give directive of thought. But the Native American is simply the Moors. Indians, simply the Moors, etc., etc., etc. And so the issue is to get the people to honor their mothers and fathers and go back to the state of mind of their ancient mothers and fathers and fear not, to love themselves and to know themselves, and also to give them some keys to help them dig themselves out of the economic, social, and political holes that were dug for them, the graves of ignorance dug for them and for us under the Inquisition operations of Rome, etc., which has much to do with their motivation of burning books for over 300 years to bring this darkness upon the planet. And it is the duty of all Moorish Americans to produce literature to bring the people back out of darkness. As the light has been given to some of them, it is their duty and responsibility to help in the uplifting of fallen humanity. And so, we'll talk a little bit about Mataoka. That's Mataoka. Mataoka. Mataoka was also called by the Europeans in the Reconstruction history Pocahontas. So Mataoka was a royal princess of the Powhatan Algonquin Confederation, and Mataoka's father, the noble Emperor Wahunsunakuk, was a highly respected Shakum, and Mataoka was a potentess and heir of the realm. And the story of Mataoka was limited and somewhat misrepresented in the legend of Pocahontas. And yet the consequences of her encounters goes far beyond the personal life of the princess herself. And there are noticeable parallels about Mataoka's life, and that expressed in the Bible story of Rebecca. Now, the disconcerting consequences of her life caused by the foreign Albion invaders extends more broadly and more far-reaching into Al-Moroccan history and culture than is generally assumed. Now, these dynamics speak to the yet uncovered histories to be made manifest for crucial and inquisitive minds to explore. So we want to establish at this time for the listeners that the reference to Mataoka is the proper name for the empress referred to in Reconstruction history as Pocahontas. And so the story of the woman called Rebecca is a compelling antidote about a young and beautiful royal princess, a woman the Englishmen called Rebecca. And I've heard so many versions of the old Albion tale that I decided maybe it's time for us, and as for myself, an Aboriginal indigenous Al-Moroccan, to tell the story of this woman called Rebecca. And so much seems to have been lost to altered history. And after all, Rebecca and I are descendants of the same ancestry. And so it is important that we give our people some points of reference to reconnect them to that which is their own, for they have learned from Roman occupying Inquisitionists. They have adopted this culture of self-hatred and self-rejection of both themselves, their culture, their history, their religions, and their attributes, etc., which are often referred to as names, but there are attributes, etc. Pardon me. I also want to bring to your attention, silence has been long, and the alien occupying Albion tribes from Europe have spoken of us with a distorted, twisted, and corrupted sense of clerically colored authority. And so to bring some rational balance to the matter, The following is a short story forwarded about the woman called Rebecca, as seen from the eyes of a true descendant of the people of the land, a land of many memories that the ancient ones called the temple of the moon and sun, a land called Al-Malak. The analytical and insightful story begins with the retelling of some notations about the hard and bold experiences of many travelers and of their intersocial adventures on their adventures in the West. Now, this aboriginal, given introspective, is also an express reckoning moving away from the oft-tainted views and ill-examined perspective given by Englishmen going on missions to invade and to conquer a distant and ancient land and its people. Its geographical relation to the land of Angles, England, the West, Maghreb, was a place far and oriental distance across the great strides of the ocean of Atlantis. Pardon me. Now, understand that the isles to the south of the North Gate, that archipelago, which comprises of Dominica, Haiti, Borican, etc., those are that area, the last string of the lands of Atlantis that sunk. Now keep in mind, with the rich soils and abounding resources, and blessed with the energies of all four of nature's cardinal seasons, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, all of them in harmony with divine law, working harmoniously in their respective cyclical and cosmological times or spaces. And it has been said that many of the natural people have artfully constructed ornamental symbols which are often painted in the palms of their hands. And they call one of the veneral symbols swastika, presents nature's expression of eternal life, and give glyphic expression of the placements and the energies of the four gates, which are indeed the four seasons. And so the four seasons are also representative of the four quarters of the universe as respective to its reflection on the planet Earth. And so when we refer to the four gates, we're referring to also the four seasons. And so our land, Al-Malak, the land is the land of springs, of many rivers, of mountains, of valleys, and of hills, trees, and vines, eagerly reaching for the sun, are lush and plentiful. The earth gives from her generous soils flowers so beautiful, so perfect, that their complex varieties feed the eyes with joy and paint good thoughts with glorious color. Now birds sing with eagerness and sweet happiness, and the most solemn given is respect, even to the lives of the multitudes of trees, of animals, and of life in general. And the best amongst the dreams and aspirations of an Englishman is to live up the lands of the empire of the moon and sun. For it is there where the navigating men of the long ships dwell. And we have seen them set sail into the great oceans for centuries. And they have taught us the arts of the maps. They also read the stars like an open book and adorn themselves in fine silks and robes. Their garments are often weaved with tempered silver or golden thread. And some of them wear plumes of feathers, impressively rare. Many of the aboriginals wrap their heads in cotton, of silken cloth, donning clothes, so fine as all an Englishman's pay of 3 months could not buy a one. And many are dressed in garbs of leather with silver coins dangled upon the finest of chains and covering their bodies with brightly beaded blankets. These people are swarthy and glow like burnished copper in complexion. Their philosophies are dressed with the workings of nature, and their manifest comprehensions are intricate and diverse in the variations of their culture. The people are also very kind, loyal, and generous. They are sometimes generous to a fault. The empire of the West is said to be so vast and great that the sun could never set upon its soils without shining its rays upon its breach at, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me, so the sun could not fail to shine his rays at a breach of some point or angle. And it's often called the Aboriginal and indigenous people, the Temple of the Moon and Sun. Sometimes it's called Maghreb al-Aqsa, or Morocco, the most extreme west. It is a land where gold is dispensed with customary abandon and is so plentiful that people wear it as common jewelry. They seem not to know the greatness of its value to the English, or even of its extreme desirability to the wanderers from Holland. And many of their buildings are trimmed with gold, copper, and silver, displaying intricate carvings and geometric art. Even their drinking mugs or other objects of common use are often made of gold, silver, copper, and with other mixed precious metals. Some of their common eating utensils and their scimitars have jewels affixed to them and glitter like stars of twinkling light. Fruit trees line the streets. Gold, silver, and very precious stones are used as money. This massive empire across the Atlantis, surely like unto heaven, surely this was the opinion and view of the great Western Empire in the eyes of many Albion people of Europe. And the time did come when many an Englishman journeyed to this distant, ancient, and wealthy land. Sometimes the journey was perilous, and eventually the trip became more common for them anyway. And we, the Aboriginal and indigenous peoples, call the Englishmen Albion, and sometimes Peregrini. So the Peregrini, to us, the Aboriginals, the land is ancient. And we go back to eras of time when there was no record. But to the alien men of Europe, the land, its minerals, and its bountiful resources were all so new, so confounding, so tempting, and so inspiring. To the albino people, ours was a new world of wonder and of sempiternal culture. Most Europeans and Englishmen knew little about cultivating the land in harmony and harmonious with the dances of the sun and the moon and the cosmic movements of the earth. And little did they know about cultivating and calculating the mathematics and the energies of the stars, nor about the timeless sciences of reading the signs shown by the plants for knowing the weather. And so to the Albion, the New World, though abundant with gifts of life, became a struggle, not unlike an Englishman's Genesis. Often and with blatant disregard of nature and of the balances of life, the Albion would create confusion or get into trouble. They were known for starting fights and invoking unjust wars with the natural people of the land. The pale people of no sun constantly ambushed the peaceful and unsuspecting natural people, ruthlessly seizing upon them to steal their jewels, their gold, and their silver. And the Albion often slaughtered families to confiscate their homes and would then lay papal claims to the land and to the properties, etc. The Europeans also slaughtered many animals while living on the land and while pilfering and destroying the resources of the natively welcoming people, or the naively welcoming people. The self-serving aliens show little or no respect for the established archaic culture molded and preserved by the ancient genies and sages. The Englishmen openly proved themselves to be warlike, deceptive, selfish, and greedy, robbing and plundering as they passed. After a while, peace became less and less a part of our lives. And death, misery, destruction, and theft became as common as eating. The Englishmen would kill, steal, rape, and rip the scalps from the people's heads, and then, after the carnage, sleep well. The next or following day, they would repeat the pattern, and the next day is the same. It became obvious that our lives were given little value by the Peregrinos, and our lands were destined to become battlefields. We had many divisions and disagreements among ourselves, but the Albion were by far the greatest threat to all of us. Our people began to see the men from Europe as the people with coldness of blood and the forked tongue of snakes, because their character and nature was cold-blooded, like that of snakes. But even the wild snakes of the field were more trustworthy, and never as cold, never as callous, and never as cunning and deceitful as the Albion Englishmen. One day, reflecting many of the days before, some of our people were ambushed by the invaders from the cold rock mountains, Caucasus Mountains of Europe. The aliens were killing our unarmed people without mercy. They even slaughtered our pequeños. Pequeño is the Latin name for little children. And they were burning our homes and stealing our animals, slaughtering the ones they could not carry away. And some of the Albion were falsely claiming to own our virgin lands in the Old Dominion territory. The Europeans proved to be arrogant, greedy, perfidious, very ungrateful, and ruthless. And without hesitation, they showed little or no compassion or mercy to a people who had succored them in their dire time of need. We gave them food to eat, grain for farming, and taught them how to govern their civil affairs. We allowed them to live on our land, but this is how they give thanks. They wanted all that was ours. Peace became a distant memory. We had to fight and struggle with the Albion to try and to keep our land and to save our families from disease, torture, and sure death initiated by the Albion clerics. They slaughtered the animals of the field and often attacked us while we slept. To repel the Albion raiders, an alarm went out. Chieftains and warriors came to aid our people. And soon, the Englishmen were surrounded by a powerful regency of skilled fighters. Leading the regency was an elder, the most powerful Shakam of the Lower North Territory Empire. The situation was very bad, with continued signs of deterioration. And after a few men were killed on both sides, the great Shakam seized the leader of the Albion raiders, saying, "You were apprehended in the past for stealing and suspicion of killing one of our people. You are a proctor and a missionary captain for the English. And after a moon or two the freedom from our prison, you dared to attack and shed more blood of my people. While you were in the fetters of our captivity, we were not cruel to you and had showed you mercy, a mercy undeserved considering your crimes against our dominion. And there will be no more theft or bloodshed by your hands. Surely you will take to be poor, but not this time. This will be the last day for you, for your eyes to see the sun. Even we heard your boasting to your brethren that your cleverness and skill of tongue will cast big shadows over a patient and passive leniency. And our ways and your ways are not alike. We are a different manner of people. We do not kill for sport or for unjust cause. But you, Albion, show little respect or compassion for unarmed men, women, and children. Many suffer because you and your people's selfishness and greed. We will not have to see this day of blood and losses had we kept you imprisoned moons ago or put you to the sword. The Stockholm raised his voice, speaking with authority and resolve. Take his head. There shall be no mercy for those who have shown no mercy, and quick and unworthy pleas for mercy poured from the mouth of the proctor, but soon faded to whimpering murmurs, for he knew this time he would be killed at once. An Algonquian warrior raised his scimitar, clenching his stance firmly against the hilt, soon to remove the head of the Englishman. Surely one stroke of the shining curved steel blade was sure to bring quick and painful death. Then suddenly and without warning, a slender figure rushed from the crowd of people, shouting loudly. The distracted warrior paused to address the sudden movement. The slender and agitated figure was that of a beautiful young woman. As she rushed to the side of the Albion captain, he threw her up against his body and shouted loudly, though loud through lowering tears. Spare him, great Powhatan. Please do not kill him. Let him live. Love him. Her heart was with an enemy of our people. So, historical caveat is that the stories about Pocahontas were very among the indigenous people and Aboriginal people, called Negroes, Indians, blacks, etc., and amongst the conquering Europeans. And there was anxiety and strong speculation about the Moors, about our relationship with Captain John Smith and with another man named John Rolfe, both Englishmen. Her supposed marriage to John Smith was often put to question. And some say she married John Smith to save his life because of deaths and threats of death made on some of the Moorish chieftains and a number of her family members. And this was supposedly prior to his last capture. But many say this action on her part was to cover up some other unseeming activities. Now, some say that Mataoka, who was rewritten as Pocahontas, was acting as a compromised agent for English mercenaries. And this was because of her conversion to Christianity and her knowledge of the Albion's intent to remove the Aboriginal indigenous people from the land. She was also suspected of having a clandestine relationship to and with the former mentioned John Rolfe. She was known to have informed the colonial mercenary raider when the Moorish regencies were planning an attack or counterattack. Now, she was very useful to the Captain Proctor John Smith, as he was once before captured by the Moors. Now, many say the marriage of Pocahontas to Captain John Smith was staged as a cover, an act emanating from both a secret love as well as for political recognition and accommodation. And she's also said to actually have been secretly courting the other Englishman named John Rolfe. It was said to be the favored one of the two. She also may have been playing a subterfuge game with him, etc., etc. Now, with that deception game between the two men, in recognition of colonial operations. But while she may have had a personal gratification plan, so did the English. She was being used by the English to set up and to get a foothold in the Moorish dominions of Al-Marak. And there was general concern and questions among the people about her honor and her loyalty. Such concerns were not often subjugated, subdued, or left unspoken. Now, during the year of 1614 A.D., Mataoka, which is written as Pocahontas, and John Rolfe were married and went to England. She was pregnant with at a mature 22 years of age. Now, while in England, only a very short time she gave birth to a son of an Englishman. And she was later to receive his political grooming. He was later to receive his political grooming and education in London. Now, under the circumstances, he was now an heir to the vast lands in the Moorish Almoroccan dominions. And after all, the Nicene Creed of patriarchal in character, and women are considered the property of Christian men, etc. And so this sets up a political dynamics of heritage and inheritance, etc., via Mataoka bearing a son for the Englishman. So Pocahontas served her purpose well and was used surreptitiously by the Englishmen for raising and establishing Roman rulership in the Western Hemisphere. John Rolfe, that's R-O-L-F-E, wanted and was rewarded by the birth of a son, having a Moabitess Moor as the mother. Now, this already attained goal was certainly a blessing for the Englishmen, even if his fatherhood was in question. And he and his son were nevertheless legal heirs to a vast estate and to untold wealth by way of direct family and blood, by way of the son in relationship to Mataoka, Pocahontas, the royal princess and potentess. And while Pocahontas had the son and heir to her estate for John Rolfe, her other associate, Captain John Smith, was growing in political strength and power in North America, Almoroc, and he was confirmed authority and legal potentate and president of Virginia colony. Now, this constituted a massive and almost unthinkable achievement for the colony. All this Moorish lands, the wealth, the sovereignty, and inroads into the immense and extensive intercontinental influence and power was deceptively attained by John Rolfe's marriage to Princess Mataoka, known as Pocahontas. To further solidify the foreign colonial grip on Moorish lands, there were Captain John Smith and the Virginia Company. This great military coup was built upon her, Mataoka's, deceitful acts, namely by assisting the enemies of her own people. And now, how is it for romance and intrigue? And many thought that Princess Mataoka, Pocahontas, had married the new Virginia colony trader and president John Smith. Meanwhile, on the rapidly changing political and social front, the young and beautiful Mataoka, known as Pocahontas, was regularly honored and flaunted. And so John Rolfe flaunted her, showing her off like a trophy, etc. And it is said that Pocahontas, now called Lady Rebecca, died in a shipwreck not far off the shore of Gravesend, England. So keep in mind, so she was displayed like a prized object of curiosity before the people of England by her Roman husband and master now, John Rolfe. She was at least once presented in the court of King James of England as Lady Rebecca, Princess Powhatan, Empress of Virginia. She was addressed as and recognized by her noble title of potentess. A potentess is the feminine equivalent of potentate. A potentate is one with extreme authority, rank, influence, and having sovereign power. She was given high respect and honor, although she was sometimes viewed by the English population or populace as a mere figure for curiosity. And so the once great Mataoka, now known as Pocahontas, was christened as Lady Rebecca. And on the death of Lady Rebecca, it is said that Mataoka, now Lady Rebecca, died in a shipwreck not far off the shore of Gravesend, England. And she was said to be addressing some official matters and on her way back to Old Dominion in the Almaracan territories. The shipwreck occurred supposedly sometime in March of the year 1617 AD, and this was only 6 months after her arrival. And this coincidental and timely accident was after she went to England and delivered a male child for John Rolfe. The name of the English town Gravesend, ironic. Look at the name, Gravesend, Gravesend, Gravesend. Isn't it interesting that Gravesend is also Gravesend? Maybe taking not this incident as an irony would be an understatement, especially with the death being obviously very suspicious. But then, according with an enemy, deception breeds deception, does it not? And talk about intrigue and prevarication. Now, the fact that Pocahontas, Lady Rebecca, died at sea under questionable circumstances may rightfully generate hard questions and suspicions, but who would ever know the true cause or circumstances? We can certainly see another side of the legendary Pocahontas, Captain John Smith and John Rolfe. Furthermore, who amongst the English or the Albion would want to glorify an unseemly truth relating to Pocahontas, Captain John Smith and John Rolfe, especially now in modern history, has painted such a beautiful picture, a story told by such a with such passionate respect. Now today, that the colonialization and the overthrow of the Moorish Almoravian Empire of the West is complete, the historians would only have to need to color the record. With all this vital history hidden in a shallow grave, who of the benefactors would send or give any true history to the disinherited and enslaved Moorish Almoravian children? After all, the English controlled the schools too. And the child-minded, branded black people believe that their Roman conquerors are from the so-called white nation. And one must often think that conquering a long-established people, though a long struggle, could not have been so easy. Some of the questions and ancillary that we might ask ourselves in relationship to the truth about Makaoka is, what is the deceptive meaning of the phrase or the statement Maghrib al-Aqsa? The answer is Maghrib al-Aqsa means Morocco, the most extreme west. They also might ask the question, how did the Moors of Maghrib come to be called by the prima facie pseudonym Indians? The answer is the Aboriginal Moors of Maghrib al-Aqsa were plausibly given the assumptive non-Dagir Indian, inclusive of other misnomers, by the alien and sadistic inquisitionists from Europe. And the implication of the moniker Indian is attributed mainly to the loyal servant and tyrannical sociopath of the Inquisition bishopric, Cristofero Colombo. Cristofero Colombo, or Christopher Colombo, known as Christopher Columbus, kept notes and records as required by the Inquisitionists King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. Many of these records may be found in his shipping log. Colombo wrote to the executor, Louis de Saint-Angel, explaining details about his voyage and about the way he took possession of the new lands he found in what he called the Indies. Cristofero Colombo initiated his pilgrimage motivated voyage for the glory of the Roman bishopric with financial and material supports of the administrators of the Inquisition. He was seeking to find a western sea route to the long-established source of the Moors' gold, jewelry, precious stones, spices, and other fineries known to be primal part of Moorish wealth, culture, and heritage. And this search of a western sea route, had much to do with the fact that the Moors had built and maintained a long-standing fortress at Calpe, which is known in modern times as the Rock of Gibraltar. Gibraltar is the corruption of the Arabic Gibraltar, which means mountain or hill of Tariq. Tariq was the Moorish general or Qazi. Therefore, and largely due to the port, the European Inquisitionist exploiters sought another route to Hindustan, and Hindustani were also referred to as Mohammedans. Wealthy and advanced trading ports were known to be, or soon to be, in Hindustan. And it must be noted that Hindustan, which is a misnomer for India, misnomer by India, was believed to be located in the direction of his navigation and thereabouts, and thereby certainly Colombo initially thought falsely and believed that he more or less found it. And upon this miscalculation and misnomer, he certainly contributed to the false claims that America, Al-Marak, was India. And that is how the name Indies became erroneously attached to the isles modernly known or referred to as today as West Indies. And that fiction, established as being legitimate, the name Indians morphed along with it and has since been falsely applied to the ancient Aboriginal Moors, the true natives of the Americas. This accepted fraud has been one of the most damaging and misleading social, educational, historical, and economic alterations of truth that assumed prima facie credibility. Now, the following is an excerpt from Cristoforo Colombo's letter penned in the year 1493 A.D. and sent to the executor Louis de Saint-Angèle. Colombo, decidedly and dedicatedly maintaining loyal to his lords, recorded his observations, his proclamations, and his claims for the Christendom and for the bishopric, etc. Now, these idol god claims later became the social and political root source propagated by Europeans for the construction of the doctrine of discovery. This genocide-oriented doctrine was and is, in these days, used as a social engineering guide and pattern of municipal operations by European colonists operating and doing business at North America and in the Western Hemisphere in general. European politics and legislation are marked by the doctrine of discovery. Research the Christian Black Codes of 1724, the Negro Act, the 14th Amendment, animating a corpse to slay the living. The Buck Act, the King Alfred Plan, Executive Order 11490, the Rex 84 Plan, etc. All of these and more have been and are in operation as a standard course of action and used as a guide for passing and promoting color law policies on a massive scale. Prison concentration camps, the straw man, the ends legis operations, and the legal fiction usages of bills of attainder, as an example, are part or the tip of a larger agenda and political iceberg. Now, for political analysis, questions to be given that were given to an 8th grade test give an account of the discovery of the Americas by Colombo. Now, for the test that is given to an 8th grader, we'll share it with you, demonstrate to you that these facts are already known by the European children in school, as this is an 8th grader's test from the 1800s. And the test was given to the 8th grader questioning an account of the discovery of the Americas by Columbus. And this is the answer of the little girl. They sailed from Palos on August the 3rd, 1492, and headed into unknown waters. It was not long before the crews wanted to turn back, threatening mutiny, as all kinds of fears and superstitions troubled them. Courage and determination of Columbus was equal to every occasion, holding the crews to their work. Early on the morning of October the 12th, 1492, they sighted one of the Bahama Islands. They had found a new world. Columbus thought had found a part of India. So he called the natives there Indians. They have been called Indians ever since. But we know they are not. They are Native Americans. We celebrate October the 12th as a school holiday, Columbus Day. That's the answer from an 8th grader from the 1800s, an 8th grader in European schools. Christopher Colombo, upon allegedly discovering the fictional India, actually the Maghreb, spuriously called or named the first island sighted by his crew, San Salvador. And this misrepresented discovery and naming of the isle was to give commemoration to His Divine Majesty Ferdinand, who had granted the support and finances for his exploits. The isle that Colombo fraudulently called San Salvador, and with sadistic satisfaction wonderfully granted all this a prize to all of Christendom, the Aboriginals being the true heirs of the land, called the island Guanahum. So the true name for San Salvador is Guanahum. And so one of the historical distortion strategies used by the European Inquisitionists for causing discord and disharmony among the aboriginals of the land was to introduce a covert and overt war program styled in the nature of schismatic operations. A part of schism operations was and is achieved by artificially changing the attributes originally given to the peoples and the lands, by changing and altering the history, by changing and by deviously altering or distorting the original attributes or names given to rivers, mountains, and other geographical and historical actions and events, etc. And the natural peoples also included in the methodology of production of nom de guerre and pseudonym to remove them from the bloodline names of their forefathers. And in a word, the invaders invoked schisms as a war tool. Schisms is spelled S-C-H-I-S-M-S, schism, as a war tool, using it to divide and conquer the Moors. So we're going to take a break. It's about 2 here on High Frequency Radio. We'll be back and go a little bit more into the history of a woman called Rebecca. High Frequency, y'all.